Robert Brooks, 43 years old, an inmate at Marcy Correctional. He was just being transferred from Mohawk Correctional to Marcy. He didn't make it in the door without being beaten. He was murdered on the morning of December 10th, 2024. Folks, this is an outrage. These murderers was recording the death of Robert Brooks. Robert Brooks deserves justice. His family deserves justice. Now, despite what anybody has said to me about his criminal past, no crime justifies murder. And what we saw on tape, we witnessed 13 correctional officers, 2 registered nurses, or 2 civilian staffers watch this inmate get beaten to death.
Anthony Farina, a former Marcy Corrections officer charged in the beating death of inmate Robert Brooks, appeared in Oneida County Court for a pretrial hearing. His attorney arguing Farina's conduct does not rise to the level of the charges against him. Farina faces a murder charge in the 2nd degree and a manslaughter charge in the 1st degree. He also claims Farina was following protocol when attempting to remove pepper spray from Brooks's face.
It's always in the pepper spray. They have to have the contaminant taken off the body of the face. What Mr. Frame was attempting to do was using a sanitary wipe to wipe the face of Mr. Brooks when he was bitten. That was not as portrayed by people comparing, murder attempt by something done now as well.
The prosecution argued the video evidence shows a very different account and that Farina's actions are tied to Brooks's death.
It seemed pretty clear that he was trying to rub the pepper spray into Mr. Brooks's face. From there, he did punch Mr. Brooks in the face repeatedly, and that is the only blows that landed on Mr. Brooks' face. The evidence showed that before, Mr. Brooks did not have a broken nose. After this assault, he did.
He rejected a plea deal last month and faces 25 years to life if convicted.
Yet he's one of 17 named in a federal civil suit filed by the Brooks estate. Separate from the ongoing criminal proceedings, Walters is now suing the New York State government for refusing to defend him in that lawsuit, claiming his rights under New York's public officers law. That law grants state employees a taxpayer-funded defense if they're sued for actions taken within the scope of their duty. That means that the Attorney General's office can defend them directly or pay for their private legal counsel. However, the Attorney General's office declined Walters' request.
In Oneida County Court, attorneys disputed their client's role in it.
This is a very dangerous case for Mr. Gallagher, who didn't strike anybody, because he gets caught up in the indictment and in the process of the people with whom he was grouped.
The defense for Officer Matthew Gallagher asks for the charges to be dismissed, arguing a cooperating sergeant lied to the grand jury. The special prosecutor claims there's other evidence.
To then jump into that fray, hold Mr. Brooks down while he continues to be beaten, and then to additionally contribute to what appears to be the fatal exchange. That's significant. And to do those things, knowing what was going on, we submit does demonstrate great indifference.
Mr. Walrath, how then do you plead to the 2nd count, manslaughter in the 1st degree, guilty or not guilty? Guilty.
Just over a week before he was due back in court, 36-year-old Christopher Walrath accepted a plea deal with the special prosecutor in connection to the death of Robert Brooks. That deal, plead guilty to manslaughter for a sentence of 15 years in prison with 5 years post-release supervision. It's a deal that the family of Brooks agreed with. Walrath was initially charged with 2nd-degree murder, but an examination of evidence in the case made the district attorney feel comfortable extending him the offer.
December the 9th of 2024, incarcerated individual Robert Brooks was transferred to the custody of corrections officers at the Marcy Correctional Facility, and they took custody of him at approximately 9:07 p.m. that evening. At approximately 9:40 that evening, he was clinically dead, having suffered massive brain trauma from multiple beatings, as well as choking on his own blood. Having been assigned as special prosecutor judge, and you as a former homicide prosecutor understand the mentality, I wanted to get to the why. What did Robert do to provoke this? Not that it could possibly be in any way justified by a provocation, but there had to be a reason. He had to have resisted. He had to have been assaulted. Maybe he spit at one of the officers. And 8 months later, and hundreds of investigative hours later, I can answer that question as to what Robert Brooks did to provoke his death. Absolutely nothing. This was a simple welcome to Marcy. Many of us, justifiably, I still think, place trust in our institution, Your Honor. People who enter this courtroom trust that justice will be dispensed and served. We drop our kids off at school. We trust that they will be educated. And on occasion, we lock people up. And we have certain trusts. We only lock people up for 4 reasons. Number one, we want to incapacitate them. We want to separate them from society so they can't continue to do what they were doing. Secondly, we want to deter future conduct. We want to send a message that this conduct will not be tolerated and you should not follow that conduct. Thirdly, there's retribution for the victims involved. And finally, but certainly not the least, we want to rehabilitate the offender. We want to educate the offender. Does he have a drug problem? Does he have an alcohol problem? Does he have a mental health issue? And we trust that the person will come out better than when they entered the facility. Robert Brooks came out in a casket. I watched that tape, Judge, that was released to the public. I'm prosecuted for 45 years. I had difficulty watching that tape. I really did. A helpless, shackled man being beaten, and a beating that this defendant actively and willingly participated in. I often wonder, had those tapes not been in existence, how much larger the fabrications would have been, how much wilder the stories would have been. I mean, this defendant even told hospital personnel who were trying to save Robert's life that he fell and hit his head. How serendipitous it was that those tapes had been discovered to bring us the truth of what happened. I remember interviewing a cooperating witness in this case early on about the falsity of the reports and the lies that were told. And I asked him, I said, when did you all get together to agree and conspire to falsify your reports? And he looked at me with a puzzled look on his face. And he said, agree. Now, we didn't need to agree. That's just what we do. And that told me all I needed to know about this case. To personalize this tragedy, Your Honor, I have the privilege of presenting to you for this victim impact statement.
My name is Robert Brooks Jr. Last December, I watched as you, Mr. Walrath, and your fellow correctional officers beat my father. As though I can ever truly describe to you the impact your actions have had on me and my family. You took my father. You took my son's grandfather. You took my grandparents' son. You took my uncle's brother. And the list goes on. It never occurred to you that my father was human, with a family who loved him. In that video, I see you and your fellow officers treating him as his life holds no value at all. As if you're entitled to brutalize him for sport. I want you to imagine for a moment what it feels like to see someone you love treated that way. I want you to imagine watching someone beating your own father helpless, restrained, bloody. I want you to imagine watching your own father be hit with a 50 bullet or being dragged by his neck. I want you to imagine watching all that is happening to your own father and you being told powerless to stop it. I would never get these images out of my head. They invade my consciousness without warning, flooding me with the worst feelings imaginable. They won't haunt my nightmares for the rest of my life. I am not okay, and I never will be. My father has struggled in his life, but was using his prison time to work on himself. He studied American Sign Language, deepened his faith with God, and maintained a healthy relationship with me and the family. He was scheduled to be released July 23, 2026, and he was hopeful for his future. His family was eagerly waiting his homecoming. You took that away from us. Although I can never forgive you, I respect that you admitted what you did and accepted responsibility. And I hope that others have the courage to do the same. That goes beyond what happens in any courtroom. Anyone who watched this video can see that your actions did not occur in a vacuum. You were part of a system that dehumanized my father. Every person in authority who allows the system of violence and abuse to exist and continue must also take responsibility. Mr. Walrath, you are no longer an actor within the system. Now, your life is at the mercy of it. And I pray for your family who are going to have to spend the next 15 years worrying about you. Just like all New Yorkers with incarcerated loved ones must do. No one should ever have to go through what my father and family endured. Thank you for hearing me out.
As to the conviction for manslaughter in the first degree, the defendant hereby sentenced to a determinate sentence of 15 years in state prison, as along with 5 years of post-release supervision. Further, there is imposed a mandatory surcharge crime victim DNA fees, which will total $375. The defendant submitted to the sentence.
The offer.
I felt based on the evidence I had of Mr. Walrath's involvement and the extent of the blows that he inflicted on Mr. Brooks, which in my judgment were non-lethal, by his plea admitting that he acted in concert with the other defendants. I think it may expedite the other individuals to enter pleas or may not.
10 guards have been charged in all in connection to Brooks' death. So far, 2 of them have pled guilty. Gallagher will now go to trial in October, along with David Kingsley. The judge says multiple defendants will be on trial in the case of Robert Brooks.
Up next, Officer Nicholas Kiefer, who admitted to putting his knee into Brooks's thigh and pepper spraying him. His attorney says not murder. The prosecution says otherwise.
Nobody said that Mr. Brooks was doing anything that warranted pepper spray. By all appearances and by all accounts, Mr. Kiefer just took it upon himself for no reason other than because he could. That's evidence of the praised indifference.
The attorney for the third officer, David Kingsley, asked for their own trial, arguing all this finger-pointing only blames officers like him in the room where Brooks was ultimately killed.
Before Judge Robert Bauer, we had suppression hearings where the courts are determining what evidence can be used at trial. David Kingsley, who was indicted for the top charge of murder, was seen in court today. 2 witnesses were called to stand representing the New York State Police, as both serve as investigators who searched and seized the property of David Kingsley on December 13th, which was only 4 days after the death of Robert Brooks. Both testified today on their process of receiving different items, including the uniform of David Kingsley, and how they both performed audio recordings during the process. One witness recalled Kingsley sharing that he never touched Robert Brooks outside of him performing CPR. Now, Judge Bauer reserved his decision on whether or not he'll use this evidence at court, along with his decision as to separating David Kingsley's trial from his co-defendants as defense attorneys requested. Judge Bauer set a pretrial conference for September 22nd, where we can expect Kingsley to be right back in court.
This is the matter of the people against Nicholas Anzalone. Stand today, Mr. Sofranco.
At this time, my client would like to reject the offer.
Mr. Anzalone, I'll go over this with you, sir, to make sure you understand. The people have proposed that if you pled guilty to count 1 of this indictment, which charges you with the felony offense of murder in the 2nd degree, they're then recommending a sentence of no worse than 18 years to life in state prison. That means the sentence will be left in a range up to my discretion. It could be no less than the statutory minimum of 15 years to life, but it would be capped at no more than 18 years to life. If you're convicted of that same offense after a trial of this matter, you could face as much as 25 years to life in state prison. Understanding your exposure and that you may not see an offer this favorable again as we go forward, you wish to reject that today. I'll mark the offer as rejected. Counsel, your motions are due to be filed by the end of business today.
Gallagher will now go to trial in October, along with David Kingsley.
Nicholas Gentile was pled guilty to a charge of attempted tampering of physical evidence. He was sentenced to a 1-year conditional discharge and will be forced to resign from Marcy Correctional Facility.
On December 9th, 2024, in the Department of Corrections at Marcy Correctional Facility. Yes, sir. And on that date, did you clean blood that belonged to Mr. Robert Brooks in the Arsenal area? Yes, sir. And were you aware that that blood was involved in assault with your fellow corrections officer when you cleaned up blood? Yes.
I would assume there'd be different levels of bargaining based on involvement.
This is Robert Brooks' father.
Yes.
Great man. Just my heart breaks for him. He is of the belief that if his family just gets a check out of this thing and a settlement and nothing happens and no change comes about, then his son has died in vain. He said, I want change.
Robert Brooks Jr. released a statement about the guilty plea. It says in part, quote, "This is one important but modest step on the long road to justice for my father. Everyone who participated in my father's killing and everyone who allowed it to happen needs to be held fully responsible."